Zeruiah, the inspiring mother of three mighty warriors who fulfilled God's miraculous plan for Israel, in the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, as the land of Israel lay steeped in turmoil, the anointing of David as king stirred not only the hearts of the faithful but also the shadows of division. Among the whispers that slithered through the valleys of Ephraim and along the heights of Benjamin stood Zeruiah, the resolute sister of David. In the quiet solitude of Bethlehem, she became a pillar of strength, determined to raise her 3 sons Abishai, Joab, and Asahel to fulfill God's grand design amidst such turbulence. As Zeruiah gazed out at the hills shrouded in dusk, the ominous echoes of distant war drums resonating from the depths of her heart compelled her to her knees. The weight of fear clashed with steadfast faith as she prayed unto the God of Israel, beseeching divine insight for her sons who now danced at the threshold of conflict, a place where shadows of uncertainty loomed heavily. With a trembling hand, she ignited the sacred oil lamp within her humble abode, the flickering flame illuminating the faces of generations past whose valiance had led them into battles victorious with divine aid. In those urgent days, Zeruiah fortified her sons with the tales of deliverance from Egypt, instilling in them a fierce remembrance of the covenant God had made with their ancestors. Day after day, she trained Abishai, the eldest, to harness his bold heart with wisdom, while Joab's loyalty was tempered with the nuances of righteousness. Asahel, the swiftest among them, embodied both threat and potential, a powerful reminder of the duality of might. As the sun cast its golden hues upon the last blossoms of spring, the shroud of bloodshed darkened their doorstep. The forces of Saul's house rallied, drawing lines of animosity that threatened to fracture Israel further. Zeruiah, eyes brimming with tears and heart resolute in hope, prepared her sons for the inevitable. She passed down swords, their edges glinting with purpose, their weight heavy not just with iron but with the promise of legacy. Remember your ancestry, she urged them, her voice firm, boxing their spirits in faith. The Lord is with you, as he was with our forefathers. Her heart surged and receded in tandem with the pulse of the land, conflict surging forth toward unknown horizons. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The clash of swords echoed through the valleys as Zeruiah listened, eyes fixed on the horizon that held the fate of her sons. Each thud of the earth beneath booted feet felt like the pounding of her heart, torn between pride and fear. The struggle ahead would not stem merely from physical might. This battle invoked the unseen realms governed by divine purpose and all that was holy. She prayed, fiercely trusting in God's sovereignty, as her mind spun visions of what could befall her beloved warriors, triumph or tragedy, glory or loss. The night turned dark as the sound of the skirmish faded. It would be a night filled with restless waiting, each moment stretching like the silence that reverberated after a storm. Zeruiah stood at the window, weary yet alert, attuned to the rhythm of her sons' destinies intertwined with the unfolding narrative of Israel, a sacred story embodying struggle, faith, and the promise of redemption yet to come. What would tomorrow bring? Those questions lingered, serrated with uncertainty, urging her to wait for the footsteps that would define their fate amidst God's unyielding plan. As dawn broke over the land, the tender light chased away the shadows that lingered through the night. Zeruiah stirred from a restless sleep, her heart still laden with the echoes of battle and the anxious prayers lifted unto God. She rose early, her thoughts consumed by the fate of her sons, and with each step, she felt the weight of the world bearing down upon her frail shoulders. Outside, the air was hushed, as though creation itself held its breath in anticipation. The cries of morning birds pierced the stillness, mingling with her unspoken pleas. O Lord, grant them strength. Her heart cried, for they had entered the fight against the house of Saul their uncle, if by blood alone, yet an enemy of the anointed king. Her sons emerged from the shadows, bloodied and bruised but with spirits unbroken. The sight surged her spirit, a mixture of tears of relief and dread. Abishai bore marks of valor, his gaze fierce and unwavering, yet shadows danced across his countenance, hinting at the horrors he had witnessed. Joab approached with deliberate caution, concern etched in his features, as if each step he took was a prayer for calm amongst the storm. And Asahel, breathless and wild, excitement flickering in his eyes, even he, the swiftest, bore scars from the fray. "Mother!" Asahel called, rushing forward, yet the urgency of his voice masked deeper truths. "We have fought bravely against them, yet the battle is far from over. They are gathering more strength, we must prepare." Zeruiah stepped forward, embracing each one, imprinting prayers of protection upon their brows. "Even in your might, remember the Lord's ways. Seek his counsel, for the battle belongs to him." It was a caution born of the anguish she held in her heart, knowing too well the desires of men can lead to ruin. The thought of losing them paralyzed her. "Fear not, mother," Joab replied, his voice steady and firm. "For we are but vessels in his hand. Each blow we make and each life we touch brings us closer to the promised land." Yet even as he spoke, the tension in his voice betrayed the weight of responsibility they bore. As the sun climbed higher, its rays bathing the land in glory, Zeruiah felt an urgency settle upon her, an awareness that God's greater plan thrummed beneath each heartbeat. This was not merely a battle of swords but a struggle for the very soul of Israel. She gathered her sons near her, a fierce protection igniting within her. "Take heed of the words of the prophet who spoke of valor in the face of despair. For at times, the path forward leads through trials we cannot yet comprehend." Abishai nodded, emboldened. "We will fight, mother, but not just with might, we seek God's will in this, we aim to restore what is rightfully David's." As they prepared to move toward the fray that awaited, Zeruiah paused, a stirring rising within her heart. But what she didn't know about God's plan transcended even her greatest hopes. It felt as if the air around her vibrated with truth, a divine whisper of impending destiny. For the very next moment, as they ventured toward the looming conflict, a shadow emerged against the horizon, an unexpected ally cloaked in uncertainty. The tension crackled like the air charged before a storm, and Zeruiah's heart quickened at the realization that God's sovereign hand was intricately weaving their fates, drawing them into something greater than they could imagine. What lay ahead in this unfolding tapestry of divine providence would challenge their courage and faith, for God's plan shrouded in mystery was about to be revealed. As the sun bathed the earth in its golden light, Zeruiah and her sons began their march toward the growing tumult of battle. Each step hummed with purpose, guided by faith. The distant sound of clashing swords grew louder, echoing the heartbeat of a nation caught in turmoil. Zeruiah's spirit stirred, for she knew they were not merely warriors in the flesh, but bearers of a divine mission. "Let us not forget the Lord," she whispered, her eyes cast heavenward. "For it is He who guides our paths." Her words fell like healing balm upon their weary souls. They approached the edge of the field where lines of men met with steel, and the soil was stained not just with earth, but with the fury of men divided. In that very moment, Abishai suggested, "Let us divide our forces, I shall take the northern flank, while Joab secures the western front. Asahel, swift as you are, scout the enemy from the shadows." "Do as the Lord leads," Joab replied, determination fierce in his tone, for victory belongs not to the mighty, but to those who seek the Lord. The brothers nodded, their spirits united in the cause to reclaim what was rightfully David's, their confidence swelling against the night's tide of despair. As they split into three factions, Zeruiah's heart trembled, her mind raced with visions of valor and loss. She could not shake the feeling that the Lord was weaving a greater narrative, one that transcended their immediate endeavor. Would their courage lead to restoration, or pave the way for something far graver? As the battle raged, Asahel, swift of foot, darted among the enemy. His eyes, keen and bright, seemed to pierce through the fog of war, seeking the heart of the conflict. In pursuit of glory and victory, he was oblivious to the peril that awaited him. In the heat of the fray, his cries rang out, calling his brothers forth in the name of their cause. Yet, the blood of the weary and the cries of the wounded began to swell, a haunting reminder of the toll of such conflict. "No pursuit of man's pride is worth the cost of blood," Zeruiah, a warrior of Saul's house, cautioned, sensing a deep conviction stirring across the battlefield. Just then, Joab, seeing his brothers engage fiercely, blasted a trumpet sound. Unite our hearts. For our strength is not in numbers, but in the trust we place in the Lord. His voice thundered over the chaos, like a clarion call in the midst of storm, and in that moment, a sudden stillness fell across the battlefield, a sacred pause, heavy with the weight of divine presence. The warriors exchanged glances, acknowledging that pursuit had become more than mere survival. They fought for justice, for honor, and for a covenant purpose. Meanwhile, Zeruiah interceded in prayer, her heart yearning for God's protection. O Lord, show thy mercy upon them. Empower them with courage. Grant them your wisdom in this hour of trial. She envisioned their struggle as a dance upon the earth, woven together by the threads of prophetic destiny. Upon the horizon, flickering shadows began to form a multitude of warriors who had long stood singularly apart. They stood for David, compelled not by familial ties but by the call for unity under the anointed king. Are these not the ones of old? Wondered Zeruiah. The words of Samuel ring true. The spirit of revival stirred a glory unknown, a chance for restoration. For even as the battle unfolded, the Lord's strategy rippled through the hearts of the men contending. Victory was destined not just through might, but through the adherence to divine promise. And Zeruiah sensed an unshakable truth: this battle is more than swords clashing, it is a soul laid bare before the Almighty, she whispered, her heart igniting with hope. Yet the chapter of their conflict was far from closed, and what awaited in the fray was woven with the mysteries of God's perfect will. As the morning light waned toward evening, one question lingered: the true essence of victory lay beyond their understanding. What would unfold next would lead to a revelation of God's eternal design, one that could reshape the very destiny of Israel. As the clamor of battle swirled like a tempest, Zeruiah felt the pressing weight of the moment. The air crackled with the fervor of warriors, but deeper still was a palpable tension, a divine urgency that awaited its unfolding. For as Joab rallied their forces, fierce flames ignited in the hearts of men, reminding them that they were participants in a divine tapestry being woven before their eyes. Suddenly, a loud clash echoed, and Asahel, fueled by youthful valor, surged forward through the chaos. His eyes were fixed upon Abner, the commander of Saul's forces, whom he recognized as an adversary not to be reckoned lightly. Today, the Lord is with us. Asahel cried, propelling himself, light-footed and quick, as he sought glory in the face of empires at war. Yet Abner, whose own heart beat like a war drum, noted the approach of the swift youth. Turn back, Asahel. He warned, sensing the danger marked in destiny's skin. You choose a path that leads to nothing but your own fall. But Asahel, eager and resolute, pressed on. I will not relent. For the God of Israel empowers me. The tension hung thick in the air, a breath waiting to be drawn deep before the inevitable release. At that moment, as swords danced and shields clashed, Zeruiah, from her vantage point, implored heaven once more. O Lord, shield my son. Spare him as David sought to preserve the life of Saul. Her heart echoed with fear, for the violent storm of battle blurred the lines between victory and loss. But conflict surged unabated. As they battled, Joab turned to Abishai, the two of them arrayed against the might of Saul's men. This day is our moment. Remember the covenant, brother, for we stand for the anointed of the Lord. The flames of righteous fury ignited the hearts of the men of Judah, and they surged forward, driven by a holy ambition. Yet still, the heart of war is fickle, and amidst the rallying cries, a swift arrow reared its head. In pursuing glory, Asahel fell into the jaws of fate. A piercing blow struck him down where he stood, a life extinguished in pursuit of honor. Zeruiah gasped, her breath catching in her throat, as the history of her family danced precariously upon the fragile scales of life and death. She felt the stakes rise higher than the sword's edge. This was the cost of destiny. Her heart trembled as the reality settled upon her. Could such a loss bring forth a greater victory? In the midst of the confusion, Joab heard the cries of anguish. Recognizing the voice of despair, he rushed to Asahel's side, the cold weight of reality crashing down like the rain of judgment. "Oh my brother!" he lamented, "your spirit has flown, but your valor will not wilt upon the lips of the living. We shall carry forth your legacy. As dusk descended, the battleground trembled under divine sovereignty. Warrior upon warrior, they fought with fervor as destiny beckoned. No longer a mere squabble of man's pride, it had morphed into the contest of heaven's decree. Zeruiah stood, her faith anchored in God's unyielding promise. "O Lord, weave this pain into your sovereign will." She cried, for her heart, though stung, believed in the resurrection of purpose. Every trial would birth triumph, in shapes unseen, and as she closed her eyes to pray, a firm hand grasped her shoulder, awakening a sense of strength anew. It was David's loyal servant, a faithful reminder that even amidst the shadows, the Lord's plan remains steadfast. "Through our trials come forth the instruments of His will," he reassured her. What unfolded next would not be merely a battle won or lost, but the forging of a nation's foundation, a divine orchestration moving from grief to grace. Destiny reigned supreme, and the tapestry of God's sovereign plan began to reveal its shimmering threads, promising escape from despair. Thus, as the stars began to dot the night sky, a voice echoed, resolute and eternal. The true essence of this conflict cried forth from the heavens: "The time for redemption is near, for Israel shall rise, tempered by trials yet ignited by the promises of the Almighty." As the pall of evening draped itself over the battlefield, an eerie stillness enveloped the land. The cries of the fallen mingled with the rustle of the wind, carrying whispers of hope and despair alike. Zeruiah, her heart heavy with sorrow, remained steadfast in faith, seeking the presence of the Lord in the shifting shadows surrounding her. "Why, O Lord?" she implored, trembling as she remembered the last moments of her son, Asahel. "What triumph must come from this grief? What greater purpose has you ordained?" Yet as she sought answers, the tumult of battle continued on. Joab, feeling the weight of loss upon his shoulders, turned to rally his men amidst the strife. "Brothers, our fight is not in vain. The Lord fights with us this day. Remember Asahel, his courage unbroken, and let his spirit surge within us. We must advance." The warriors responded, hearts kindled by Joab's words, each spirit aflame with the resolve to honor the fallen. As they clashed against the forces of Abner, their voices rose, creating a cacophony of faith and fury. Each man became a testament to courage, wielding their swords not merely as instruments of death, but as symbols of God's will unfolding before them. Meanwhile, in the heart of the chaos, Abner roared with the authority of his rank. "Men of Israel, we cannot falter. Remember your forefathers. We fight for our land, our future, and the crown that is rightfully ours." His rallying cry momentarily pierced through the fog of despair, igniting renewed vigor among his troops. Yet even in these dire moments, shadows danced outside the clashes. In the stillness of her pain, Zeruiah sensed a thread of divine purpose weaving its way through the calamity. She turned her gaze to the heavens, her spirit yearning for understanding. "Open my eyes, O God, that I may grasp the vision of what we endure. Show us the way ahead, for we cannot walk in darkness." Just then, a burst of brilliant light illuminated the encampment, drawing the eyes of every soldier to its brilliance. The skies parted, and a voice as thunder echoed through the valley: "Behold, I am with you, even to the end of the age. Trust in my deliverance. The divisions of this day shall not be the end, but the beginning of restoration." In that moment, Zeruiah felt the weight of her sorrow momentarily lifted, replaced by an assurance that sparked in her heart. She realized that from loss would spring forth generations of warriors, each destined to uphold the covenant promises spoken by the Lord. "Yes, Father. I understand," she whispered, her voice trembling with awe. "Even through our deepest pain, your grace abounds." And as night descended fully upon the battlefield, Joab, emboldened by this heavenly decree, led his men forward. "Let not despair rule our hearts. For Asahel's blood shall not be shed for naught, victory is within reach. The hand of God is upon us, guiding our every step." Their spirits soared higher as they pressed onward, the presence of the Almighty felt amongst them. Each clash of steel resonated with the fervor of heaven's purpose, as they fought not just for survival, but for a future woven in righteous hope. Every blow exchanged carried the weight of divine promise, it was not just a battle of flesh but a spiritual contention, presaging the rise of a united Israel, forged anew through trials and perseverance. In the stillness that followed the frenetic chaos of battle, Zeruiah stood before the Lord, her heart filled with wonder. What might yet unfold from my pain? She pondered, the possibilities illuminating her spirit. For though we suffer, your plan is greater still. And as dawn approached, a new hope was birthed upon the horizon, a promise swelling in the hearts of the faithful, ready to challenge the darkness. The promise loomed before them, each moment urging forth the revelation of God's sovereign plan, for the cries of the broken will echo in triumph, marking the beginning of a renewal that shall reshape the destiny of Israel. As the sun rose over the battlefield, streaks of golden light pierced the remnants of darkness like hope penetrating despair. The weary soldiers, bloodied and bruised, looked upon one another as the night's gruesome reality faltered under the dawn of a new day. Joab, standing at the forefront, raised his sword high, glistening in the morning light. Let us remember this day. For we are not merely soldiers of flesh and blood, but champions appointed by the Most High. The sound of his voice rang out, invigorating the hearts of the men, stirring within them a spirit of courage born from divine insight. They had fought valiantly, but the weight of loss lingered thick in the air, like the aftertaste of bitter gall. In the distance, Zeruiah knelt in prayer, allowing her heart to be enveloped by the peace of God. O Lord, she pleaded quietly, let not the sacrifice of Asahel be in vain. Lend me understanding as to how these trials shall bring forth glory to your name. As she prayed, a whisper of wind brushed past her. It felt as if the very air carried the promise of God's intent. At that moment, Joab, emboldened by Zeruiah's unwavering faith, called for unity among his men. We shall regroup and strategize. Gather your brethren, for this day the Lord has not removed his hand from us. We shall confront Abner and ensure that his army knows our resolve. As he spoke, whispers of trepidation rippled among the ranks. What if Abner's forces return? A soldier asked, anxiety shadowing his voice. No fear. Joab responded, his spirit aflame with conviction, hearkening back to the words from the night before. For the Lion of Judah goes before us. The Lord has declared our victory. Arise, for we are called to be a light in darkness. Drawing strength from Joab's assertion, the men prepared for the battle that lay ahead. Yet, as they gathered their valor, Zeruiah experienced a deeper stirring within her heart, a vision taking form in her mind. She glimpsed her sons, Abishai and Amasa, joining the fray, warriors united with Asahel in spirit. Through her prayer, she discerned the weight of legacy. It was not just her sorrow but a call to action. Rise, sons of my soul. She shouted into the wind, though they were not near. Be the shields of Israel. For in tribulation, the Lord crafts a legacy that shall echo through generations. With each word, the heavens seemed to respond, a chorus of celestial beings joining in affirmation. The very cosmos bore witness to her fervor. Abner, still reeling from the turmoil of the prior night, hastily organized his diminishing forces. We cannot be swayed. Retaliate with every fiber of our being. Israel will not cower. Yet deep inside, uncertainty gnawed at him. As he faced the relentless dawn, it became increasingly clear that the tide was turning against him. The armies clashed again, and each warrior fought not for his own life but for the promise of a nation reborn in faith. Joab's strategy, ignited by heavenly inspiration, drove them forward as the sound of swords clashing rang out like prophetic declarations that in the midst of battle. Zeruiah recalled the covenant spoken to Abraham, a promise made to his descendants, to be as numerous as the stars. Your truth, O God, shall not fail. She exclaimed, feeling the surge of God's plan take root within her heart. As the fierce battle carried on, destiny unfolded in ways unimaginable. Each warrior, emboldened by the spirit of unity, became a fulfillment of promises long foretold. Zeruiah, witnessing this history shaping before her, in her heart swirled a profound understanding. These trials are the very womb of greatness. God's plan is not only for victory today but for a lineage that shall uphold righteousness for generations. And as the dust settled, an unmistakable sense of divine oversight lingered amid the clamor. Each confrontation, each fall, marked a future of purpose and renewal. Yet among the chaos, Zeruiah knew that in every act of bravery and loss lay the essence of God's sovereign hand crafting a tapestry of hope. For as the hearts of men sought direction, a promise remained unfulfilled. What greater glory awaited them? What redemptive purpose would light their path from the ashes of this battlefield? The dawn of revelation bloomed, yet the extent of God's sovereign plan remained tantalizingly near, urging them onward in faith and trust. As the clash of steel and the cries of men echoed across the valley, the air was thick with tension, wrought from the fervent spirits of warriors seeking to secure their legacy. Joab surged forth at the helm of his men, a beacon of determination. Each footfall ground the earth below him, a testament to the resolve that surged through the hearts of the soldiers. Advance! The Lord fights with us! He bellowed, brandishing his sword aloft, a shining symbol of hope and courage. The fierce engagement spread like wildfire. Joab's forces, ignited by zeal, pressed into Abner's ranks with fervor. As swords met and shields collided, the cries of valor mingled with the despairing moans of the fallen, creating a symphony of battle. With each fallen enemy, an unsettling thought crept into Joab's mind: his brother Asahel's absence was a void that echoed louder with each clash. Nearby, Zeruiah's prayers ascended like incense, entwining herself with the fabric of a divine plan. O Lord of hosts, let this day be etched in the annals of history. May the blood that flows be a testimony to your greatness, and may our sacrifices yield deliverance for Israel. Her voice rang out, undeterred by the chaos surrounding her. She felt the stirring of the Almighty's presence, her eyes set toward the horizon, where she knew the sun would conquer the darkness. Amid the tumult, Abner commanded his troops, desperation etched on his brow. Hold your ground! He cried, his voice heavy with an urgency born of panic. As he glanced across the battlefield, he felt the tides of war shift beneath his feet. The silver glint of Joab's sword seemed to reflect a faith unyielding, a faith he had once shared before the rift tore their alliance. Could he reclaim the heart of Israel, or would the dreams of a united kingdom shatter before his own eyes? Unbeknownst to Abner, yet critical in God's plan, a whisper of truth brushed through the ranks of Joab's men, a promise woven through their desperate hearts: the Lord will do battle for us, we are his and he is ours. Among the throng, Abishai and Amasa fought valiantly alongside their brethren. Each movement of their swords carried echoes of their mother's unwavering spirit, a legacy spun from struggle and strength. Let us not falter. For the Lord goes before us. He has sanctified this battle. Abishai proclaimed, his voice rising above the fray, urging others to summon their covenant strength. That in the thick of the melee, Zeruiah's heart throbbed with the weight of the moment. She envisioned the culmination of these events, the restoration of a fractured kingdom, the rekindling of faith among a chosen people. This is not merely for victory today, she murmured, clasping her hands tighter in prayer, but for an everlasting covenant, O God. For generations shall witness your faithfulness. As the sun ascended higher, painting the battlefield in hues of crimson and gold, the highlight of a servant's heart began to emerge. The struggle against flesh and blood was not their greatest adversary, it lay within the spiritual realm. Joab, feeling the swell of God's presence, called out once more, lift your eyes. For our fight is not by might, but by the Spirit of the Lord. Let us reclaim our destiny. As the battle reached a ferocious climax, an unnumbered multitude of angels looked on with bated breath, waiting for the signal of divine intervention. As swords clashed and cries mixed with spiritual fervor, a profound truth resonated across the heavens. Each action fueled their purpose, and in their hearts, the mystery of God's unfolding plan stirred. A promise hung in the balance, teetering on the precipice of history. What future awaited Israel from this day forward? Would their trials etch their names in glory or chaos? As warriors stood amid the fray, the answers seemed unsettlingly close, yet shrouded in divine obscurity, begging for faith to unveil the tapestry woven by the Almighty's hands. And as the sun's fiery orb ascended to its zenith, the battlefield erupted in chaos unlike any seen before. The air hung heavy with the scent of sweat and blood, mingled with the desperate cries of men grappling with destiny. Joab, undaunted amid the clamor, felt the pulse of the Lord beating through his sword, each swing ignited by divine assurance. The echo of his defiance rang, "Who can stand against us when the Lord is at our side?" But there, amidst the melee, the battle weighed heavily upon a heart filled not only with cunning but with sorrow. For Asahel's ghost seemed to hover at the edges of Joab's vision, a reminder of a duty unmet, of a brother's sacrifice that now demanded resolution. "You shall not die in vain, dear brother," Joab whispered fiercely, newfound resolve surging through his veins. Zeruiah's prayers, woven in faith, soared over the tumult, bolstering her sons with every whisper. She recalled the words of the Lord spoken through the prophets, "I will contend with those who contend with you, and your children I will save," Isaiah 49 verse 25. It was this promise that anchored her spirit, that fueled a flame of hope igniting deep within the chaos. As she witnessed her sons fight valiantly, she knew that their bloodline was intertwined with divine purpose. Across the fray, Abner's heart raced. Recognition flashed in his eyes as he caught sight of Joab, battling with the ferocity of a lion. "His faith shall be his sword," Abner murmured, though despair nipped at his heels. "Have I not been spared as commander of Israel for such a time?" The cry of the Lord echoed within him, breathing life into his resolve. Yet, uncertainty lingered. What would it cost him to reclaim the throne he believed was rightfully his? As battle-worn men surged, the clattering of armor gave rise to shouts of ancient tales, the legends of valor resonating through their souls. "For every cry of defeat, let there be tenfold shouts of victory," proclaimed Amasa, his heart beating in rhythm with the ancestral drum of their heritage. Each clash of steel echoed the legacies of David, a king whose throne hung in the balance. Amidst this storm of humanity, Zeruiah steadied her heart in prayer. "Lord of hosts, hear my prayer. Let your will unfold. May the blood of this battle sanctify our nation, restore our hearts to you, and bring forth a king in the lineage of David." The heavens responded as the ground trembled beneath the men. A hush fell over the throng, a pause steeped in divine silence. The heavenly hosts awaited the Father's command, ready to intervene on behalf of his chosen ones. In that instant, Joab instinctively felt the shift, the air charged with divine expectancy. "Lift your shields!" he shouted, a surge of unity soaring among his men as they formed ranks, fortified by shared belief. But even as victory approached, a murmur arose within the hearts of many. What would happen next? Unbeknownst to Joab, the events that unfolded from this day would not merely shape their immediate fate but ripple across the fabric of time, enduring in the faith of future generations. God's heart longed for more than mere victory. He craved restoration, unity, and the ushering of his promise through an everlasting covenant. The question lingered on the lips of warriors and their kin: how can we be instruments of this divine restoration? As the sun dipped on the horizon, casting an ethereal glow, the shadows deepened, and the battle raged on. Little did they know, the very outcome of this strife was woven into a grander narrative. Their prayers and struggles were but threads in a tapestry of a kingdom longing for a king, a kingdom destined to witness the coming of the Messiah, a promise far greater than the sum of their victories. Where faith was to direct their resolve, the true operation of God's sovereign hand awaited its revelation. And as the battle intensified, the clinking sound of swords and the cries of valor mingled into a desperate hymn of warfare. Joab's heart pounded with the rhythm of the conflict, and he fought with the fervor born from grief and the promise of victory. "The Lord is our refuge and strength," he roared, rallying his men. His words struck a chord, resonating deep within their souls as they pressed forward against the tide of despair. Zeruiah, observing the fray from a distance, felt a swell of holy anger rise within her. "Let not the blood of my sons be shed in vain," she cried out, her voice lifting above the din of battle. "Join us, O Lord of hosts. Fight for us, as you promised our forefathers." She could see Joab and his brothers, their movements a tempest of dedication, fueled by their mother's unwavering faith. The echo of her hope soared higher than any sword, grasped by the hands of prayer that reached into the heavens. Meanwhile, Abner witnessed the alignment of Joab's clansmen as they stood shoulder to shoulder, bolstered by the same divine resolve. "Do not falter now," he whispered, striving to summon courage amidst the whirlwind. "Is it not written, the battle is the Lord's, 1 Samuel 17 verse 47, and we are but instruments in his hand?" Yet, doubt sat heavily on his heart, a chain tethering him to thoughts of past transgressions. With every lunge of his spear, Joab envisioned his brother's face, and with each enemy felled, he felt the weight of vengeance lift from his shoulders. It was a sacred duty, an act of retribution not for mere bloodshed but for the restoration of his family's honor and a destiny foretold. But even so, amidst the fury of battle, he asked himself, what is a victory if it results in further division? Can our hearts merge once more in the face of this blood feud? Just then, a commotion arose on the battlefield. A flanking maneuver from Abner's troops threatened to engulf Joab and his men. The ever-fierce Amasa rushed to join Joab, brandishing his sword with a fervor that ignited the hearts of warriors around him. "Brothers, let the righteous stand together!" he bellowed, and with a united roar, they surged forward, a force emboldened by divine purpose. Amidst the thrusts and parries, Zeruiah, a man of valor who had witnessed God's faithfulness in his own life, stood firm. He called out, "If we are to survive this day, let us not forget the promises sealed in covenant with our ancestors. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29 verse 11. Let us fight, not just for ourselves, but for the future of our people. As the clash raged on, a growing darkness began to shroud the battlefield and awareness began to settle upon the hearts of soldiers. In the chaos, men glanced skyward as clouds billowed, swirling into a storm worthy of the Almighty's hand. What is this foreboding sign? They murmured amongst themselves, as if the heavens themselves bore witness to the unfolding destiny. With the darkening sky serving as an omen, Joab pressed on, unwilling to succumb to despair. "Our victory shall herald salvation," he declared, wielding his sword with courage birthed from the prayers of his mother, from the deep faith woven into the fabric of their legacy. He knew in that moment, the very act of standing was a testament to God's promise of redemption. Yet, as dusk neared, amidst blood and sweat, the question loomed, would this day mark the beginning of a new chapter, a divine restoration, or would it seal their fate in an everlasting cycle of strife? God's sovereign plan loomed larger than any mortal comprehension. His tapestry of grace, still being woven, whispered promises of a future where peace would eclipse the chaos of man. And as Joab raised his sword in defiance against the looming storm, an ancient whisper brushed against the edges of their hearts, beckoning them toward a revelation that would alter their lives forever. The coming of a king, greater than they could imagine, a ruler who would fulfill the long-awaited covenant, igniting hope for generations yet to come. As the final embers of conflict flickered into the night, and the battlefield lay woven with the testimonies of sacrifice and valor, the voices of the warriors rose in a chorus of faith. Zeruiah stood amidst the remnants of the struggle, her heart a mosaic of grief and hope, heavy with the loss of Asahel, yet buoyed by the promise of God's eternal covenant. She lifted her gaze to the heavens, where the stars twinkled like the unbreakable pledges of the Almighty. "O Lord," she breathed, "you alone are the architect of our destiny. From devastation, weave restoration in this land." With each whispered prayer, Zeruiah felt the weight of her sorrow morph into something more profound, a wellspring of pure faith. In that stillness, she perceived the dawning of a new era upon Israel. For as the dust settled, it became clear that the threads of divine purpose were not merely intertwining around loss but crafting a tapestry colored by hope, promise, and a unified future. The blood of Asahel would not cry out in vain. It bore witness to a love deeper than conflict, a testament to the power of forgiveness pouring forth from seeking the Lord. The sun began to rise, illuminating the remnants of the battlefield, now silent except for the rustle of the wind whispering secrets of a new beginning. Joab, weary but unwavering, surveyed the land. The scars bore testament not just to bloodshed but to victory through unity. "With our brothers and for our fallen, we shall rise," he proclaimed with fiery conviction, his voice spilling forth the hope molded from their trials. The hearts that once beat with animosity now thudded in recognition of a larger truth, a divine orchestration unfolding before them. Abishai, standing shoulder to shoulder with Joab, felt the remnants of sorrow dancing upon the ash of battle. "Let us forge a new covenant," he urged, one that reflects our loyalty to the Lord, our King, and one another. For Israel shall not dissolve into fragments. As the soldiers gathered, they formed a circle of life birthed from death, forged in the fires of adversity, and bound by a collective promise. Those who witnessed Asahel fall were the same who pledged to elevate his legacy, turning sorrow into a catalyst for unity. They raised their swords, not as instruments of vengeance, but as symbols of commitment to abide in the paths of peace. Then, as if summoned by their resolve, a figure emerged over the horizon: David himself, a vision of divine purpose, ready to embrace his rightful place, and lead them into a new dawn. "Brothers!" he called, his voice ringing across the valley with an authority that could only stem from the Most High. "Today, we are more than soldiers, we are a nation bound by faith. Let us move forward, renewing our hearts in the promises of God." The people, inspired by the wit of divine revelation, fell to their knees in reverence and gratitude. A spirit of thanksgiving enveloped them like a warm embrace, cascading over the remnants of loss and turning grief into immeasurable joy. Zeruiah, amidst the cacophony of newfound hope, smiled a mother, knowing that what she had sown in tears would now yield a harvest of life and purpose. Just as the dawn transitioned the darkness into light, so too did God's faithful hand turn their despair into a sacred victory. Each chapter of their lives was urged forward by a promise reaffirmed through the generations: a king would emerge, and through him, the nations would find healing. "Your grief shall not be wasted," Zeruiah whispered softly, her heart pulsing with divine truth as her son stood resolutely beside her. As they united to reclaim their homeland, the legacy of Zeruiah's warriors would resonate through time, reminding every heart that in the depths of loss rests the promise of restoration, crafted by grace, victorious through faith. Each beat of their warriors' hearts echoed the divine plan, steadfast and unwavering, illuminating the path through the chaos of fallen humanity into the sanctuary of God's eternal promise, and in their voices rose the ultimate call of fervent prayer that transcended the battlefield and time itself. "O Lord, may our lives be a testament to your enduring faithfulness. From our trials, lead us toward the fullness of restoration, that we, too, may glorify your name." Thus the stage was set, the narrative eternally anchored in hope. A promise enveloped them all. God's sovereign plan was unfolding, a destiny cultivated in faith, echoing through the ages as unwavering as the stars above. Now, as we reflect on this powerful story of faith, loss, and hope, I invite you to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next powerful biblical stories that transform lives. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm and encourage others on their faith journey. Comment below your spiritual reflections and share how this incredible story inspired your faith. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth and experience His love. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Together, let us reach more souls for Christ.